Welcome to Women of the Wild,
where education and opportunities are key,
and friendships are made to last a lifetime.
Did you get it?
You think we got him? You think we got him? We got him.
All right, Skylar, what do we got here?
We have a nice looking rip-off.
Oh, there she is. Woo! You dropped our great ghost.
Give me a hug.
Welcome back to Season 2 Women of the Wild podcast. We would like to first start off by thanking our title sponsors for the 2024 year. Atlantic Coral Enterprise, one of the largest import dealers in the world with excellent quality for hides, skulls, shells, and amazing gifts for friends and family or even your household. You can find them at AtlanticCoralEnterprise.com. RM Custom Called, multiple world championships from Main Street to Live Duck. American made, veteran owned. When you want to win on the stage or in the blind, we have you covered. Small shop, big sound. You can find them at rmcustomcall.com or on Instagram. We also have Rhino Land Safaris, providing exceptional quality with unmatched hospitality and cuisine, offering African safaris, a destination hunt for the avid rifle or bow hunter with some of the best trophy management South Africa has to offer. You can find them at rhinoland.co.za or on Facebook, Instagram.
Hey everyone, Andy Lehman here from ACC Crappie Sticks. Just want to let you know about our crappie baits and jig heads. We have a wide selection of the hottest colors and big eye crappie jig heads in the most popular colors and sizes. Check them all out at accrappiesticks.com. Thank you.
And now for today's episode, we hope you enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of Women of the Wild podcast. I am your host for today, Felicia Marie, and I am here with another incredible guest, Nina Cox from Tennessee. She is a mother, an entrepreneur. She is a military veteran, and she's been on a Women of the Wild event with us. So I'd like to welcome Nina Cox. Nina, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm really excited to have you on today. It's been quite a few months since we've gotten to really connect, so I'm excited to chat with you today. Would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners?
So I am Nina. I was in the Marine Corps, and fortunately, I didn't get to serve as long as I would have liked to due to a pelvic injury. It took about 10 years to figure out what some of the issues were. So I got to have surgery in 2020, which for me was great. And I love the military and most of all of it. And I do homeschool my kids. They're 13, 11, and 9.
How long did you serve with the Marines?
It was only about 6 months due to the injury, and we had gotten some new first sergeants in, and so they were just like, oh, well, when you're not hurt, you can come back when you're not hurt. Well, I couldn't come back because we couldn't figure out what was wrong with me
Right.
for a long time.
Are you okay now?
I am, yeah. So I still have some residual pain and stuff, and the VA has really been helpful. We've done chiropractic care, acupuncture. I do music therapy. So I just started doing line dancing, and it's so fun. And just getting to be out there with other people, it's awesome.
That's really exciting. And you said you homeschool your kids?
I do. So I've always homeschooled. It wasn't because of 2020. We just do it because we didn't necessarily want to put them into public school. And both my husband and I were in public school. So it's not like a terrible thing. It's just some, personal choice. And too expensive to put them into private school. So it's easier to homeschool.
Yeah, absolutely. I know at the start of COVID, that was kind of like the big eye opener for a lot of parents. And you were doing that beforehand. But I know like with me and my kids, that was a really big option that I looked into, and I ended up putting them in charter schools because I don't have the ability, working full and everything. What is it that you do for a living? Because I know that you kind of have a cool little niche of what you do. Do you want to discuss that a little bit?
Sure. So, my husband and I, we own a coffee shop. We've been open for almost 6 years. I recently just saw a memory from where the drywall was being put up, and so it's neat just to see how much it's progressed over the 6 years. My husband, he does the roasting, and we have 6, 7, 8, 9 different roasts. And then this year, we're actually going to introduce flavored coffee. We've kind of stayed away from it because of the flavor oils and stuff, but we've had so many people request it that we think it would be good Christmas or holiday gifts. But we have, let's see, what else do we do? We do breakfast, we do lunch. We have the best chicken salad in town. I'm just saying. It's got dried cherries and pecans in it. So good. And then we do a lot of baked goods. A lot of people don't realize this, but in our kitchen, it's about a microwave size oven, and you can fit 4 baking sheets in there, only if they're cookies. Otherwise, it's 2 to 3 pans at the most. And then we have a single burner. That is our kitchen.
Wow.
Not
What
not
what part of Tennessee is your business in?
It is on the east side of Nashville, about 45 minutes.
Okay, and what is the name of your company?
It is Split Bean Roasting Company.
I love it. So 6 years ago, you guys just decided you were going to open a coffee company. What inspired that for you?
So we were stationed overseas in Germany, and we had went down to Italy, and we went to this little tiny hole in the wall in Pisa. And there's this guy, he said, try this coffee, the espresso. And he didn't want us to put anything in it. He just wanted us to try the little tiny cup of it. And it was so good. And just to be able to be exposed to how coffee is supposed to taste was an eye opener. And so when we got back, we couldn't find anything similar to that. And my husband decided he wanted to try and do that. And I think 2013 was when we got back. And so we had a different coffee shop then, and it was him and I. The boys were little, and then we had a house fire, and his mom had cancer, and she ended up passing away. And so that was like closing that chapter. And when that happened, my husband started playing around with trying to roast his own beans. And so he created a roaster out of a rotisserie thing that you use on a grill. And so he started doing that, and people at our church supported us and would buy some of the coffee. And so he jokes around, and when he first did it, he did it in a pan, and he did it in the house. It was the middle of winter. And if you know coffee, it smokes. So kind of like popcorn, when popcorn gets burnt and it smokes and it makes the whole house stink. But we had to open all the doors, all the windows, because it was so smoky in the house. And that's when he created that that other roaster. And then he's just kind of grown from there, and got a small 2-pound roaster. So when we first opened the shop, it put out 2 pounds of coffee. And so he would be there for hours roasting over and over and over. And I think 2018, we were able to upgrade to a 30-pound roaster. So when you roast a batch of coffee, it takes about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on if you're doing a lighter roast or a darker roast. And we went from that 2-pound roaster to a 30-pound roaster, and it roasts the same amount in that same amount of time. It was a huge, huge lifesaver.
Wow, it's really neat, the inspirational story behind that you just went from, drinking a cup of espresso to I'm going to do this, and figured out a way to do it. And it's awesome that your startup was basically your community, helping you get there. And now 6 years later, you guys are a successful business. You're adding new things. And I had no idea that you guys actually did like pastries and meals and stuff like that. Like I just thought you guys did the ground coffee or like beans or sold it in that manner. So I guess I didn't even realize that you had like this whole shop, and that's really neat that you do that.
It's huge. We're open 6 to 4. And when we first opened, it was, we had a couple people helping us out, but it was me, my husband, the 3 kids were there doing their schoolwork. we had people that would be in there on a regular basis, and sometimes our kids would go sit with them and they would help them out with their schoolwork. So we were really blessed with a good community, and so they still check in on us, and there's times where I have to step in there, but after I had that surgery, I didn't have to be in there as much. So I can focus more on homeschooling and getting the kids to be able to do other activities outside of the shop. But there's times that we're there late. So like last night we went grocery shopping and got there after everybody had left, and then we're like, let's hurry up and decorate for Christmas because everybody else is decorated, but we haven't yet. And so we got the store decorated in, I think, less than an hour, and it was record timing with everybody helping out, with the kids helping out. It was so fun.
Oh, I love that. So what is like a day in the life of Nina with this, this shop, with homeschooling the kids, with everything that you have going on? What's like a day in the life with you, like for you and your kids?
It varies. But typically we get up, we're fairly normal. Chris sometimes has to go into the shop in the mornings. He doesn't always have to open. Get the kids up, to get them going, start schoolwork, checking on stuff with employees, or if they need anything last minute that we forgot about to get at the shop or at the store. And yeah, so that's a Monday. Tuesday, our middle son actually just started taking guitar lessons. So Tuesday afternoons, he's taking guitar lessons. Nadia and I were doing horseback riding, but it got too hard. So we're not doing that now. And then Wednesday, the kids go to church. They were taking Spanish lessons in the evening before that. Thursday, they go to school. And so I volunteer sometimes to help out at lunch at the school. And then other times I'll be at the shop helping catch stuff up or get caught up on other items, cover shifts. Let's see. And then Friday, the kids are in a drama program. It's a nonprofit. This lady had started it because she wanted more kids to be introduced to theater, and it grew a whole lot. She unfortunately passed away because of cancer, but it has carried on, and it's a huge legacy. So we're doing, the younger two are in Jungle Book. The middle son, Kinley, he's a porcupine, and he's going to be the comic relief. It's hilarious. And then Nadia is the baby elephant. So that's actually this Thursday when they're performing. And then our oldest, they're doing Midsummer's Night Dream. I've never watched it. I've never read it. So it's going to be all new to me, and I can't wait to see it.
Oh, that's exciting. I love how involved you are with everything. And the reason I asked for you to kind of dive into the life of, how it is for you is because we have so many listeners that are moms or are becoming moms. And I think that it's really important to hear like the balance that women, we conquer and endure on a daily basis to be a mom, to be, with yourself being a business owner, and you and your husband doing all of this and having kids and homeschooling kids, and you do all of this and you still find time for yourself. I think it's really great for our listeners to hear that, and being able to show that like you can have a balance to it all. You just might need to find what works for you and your household.
Yeah. And there are times where it does get overwhelming, and I try to make sure that I do payroll on Saturday night, because if I don't, I definitely forget on Sunday. And then Monday, it's usually 9:00 and it's due by 10. And I'm like, oh no, I forgot. So.
It's great to hear like this success story, because we met earlier this year, back in February, and we were in the blind. So we didn't really have a lot of time to like really dig into that. I know we talked quite a bit and knew, kind of were able to dive into like the basics of our lives together, but it's really neat to hear just how everything evolves for you, and like how your daily life goes, and just yourself as a mother and you as a person. You're probably one of the sweetest people I've ever met in my life, and it was an absolute blessing. And I would love to dig into and roll over to like what got you into the outdoors and what that looks like for you right now.
Okay, yeah. So about 2 years ago, I started learning archery. I had taken the kids, and I was like, well, let's try something different. Let's try something new. And I found a place And this guy is actually a Marine Corps veteran, and so he's fun to be around. He'd pick on you, but he's super sweet. And of course, I ended up being more interested in it than the kids, and I didn't have anywhere to really go hunt, and so I just continued doing that. And then in August, we've got the Wilson County fair. I don't know if it had turned into the state fair or not, but so now our fairgrounds is where the state fair is held. The kids and I were walking past this booth, and it was a couple ladies with the Tennessee wildlife. And I said, "Do you guys have any programs for women? Because I have nowhere to go and I live in town." And so I met this lady. Her name is Amy Adams, and she is amazing. She used to work for them, but she's moved to Louisiana. But she said, "Have I got the program for you?" with so much enthusiasm. So that was the start of our friendship. She's amazing, and she was a great encourager. So by November, I was at my first deer hunt, and the TWRA here in Tennessee, they provide women hunts. And so they provide everything for you. You just pay a fee, and then you can either camp on their property or you can stay at a hotel. And they teach you everything that you need to know. They have university students come in. And so if you get a deer, they'll clean the deer for you. They'll show you how to do it. It's a really neat program that they have.
I love that. And what is that organization called?
It's the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. They have a couple different ones. It's a women's program, and then they have a Becoming an Outdoor Women's event in June that they do every year. And again, you pay a fee, and then you have about 12 to 15 different choices to choose from. And it used to be over a week, but after COVID, they're just slowly getting back into it. And so I've learned how to do what's that where you stand on the board in the water?
Paddle boarding?
Yeah. And so I learned how to do that, and kayaking. I did clay shooting. That was fun. I loved that. And I did that last year. And then what else do they do? They can teach you how to do the long shooting. They do archery, all kinds of stuff. Well,
So-
wild edibles. I did a wild edibles class this year.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's actually a course that we've been looking into, is doing a foraging class. It sounds like they're like full encompassing though. Like there's kind of something for everything. Like
Mhm.
anything from you said, firearms to archery and, into foraging and everything like that. And even just recreational outdoor activities, right?
Yeah, yep. Oh, and they teach you how to ride a four-wheeler if you've never done that. Fishing. So they do everything. I got to learn how to do fly fishing this year.
Oh, I love that. I'm a big fly fisherman, so I love that they're keeping the old traits of things alive though, because there's so many outdoorsmen. And I feel in the last couple of years, we've really hit a really good stride in the outdoor industry of providing those opportunities to people. And we all, like, every company has their own demographic and their own niche of like what works for them. But with anyone that's listening that's in Tennessee, and I know other states have those programs as well, becoming an outdoors woman, even like there's youth programs for it. So anyone that's interested in getting in the outdoors, it's a really great resource to dig into. I love that there's something like that there, because I talk to a lot of women that are from that like southeast like states, and that's one of the biggest complaints that I hear from women is like there's nothing in my area. But in all reality, there probably is. It's just it might take a little bit of time to find that resource. And typically every state has some sort of, whether it's through the DNR or the Fish and Wildlife, has some sort of program. And I absolutely love that you found that. And so you started off as archery, and you just started like indoor shooting, 3D ranges. How did that look for you?
So they have an indoor range for the bow, and then they also do archery, like 3D archery, and they go out to we went to Buffalo Ridge, is where they do a lot of the outdoor women's events. And so they've actually done an event over there for that 3D archery with that company Muddy Bayou Archery, and they have helped kids get scholarships for schools because they're very adamant about getting the kids into the outdoors and getting them used to doing archery, because sometimes those trades just aren't taught to kids. I wasn't really taught that. My dad tried, but my dad was in the Navy for 20 years, and then we moved all over the place. So there just wasn't an opportunity to be able to do that as a kid. And so I think that it's good that they have these programs, and you really do have to search for the information in order to get out there. And sometimes it's just, you kind of hit a lull and you're just confused, and I don't know what to do, or I don't know where to go. And sometimes seeing the TWRA can be intimidating at first, but they're really, really nice. They're super helpful. They've got good programs.
I love that. And we can definitely provide the link in the bio to this podcast. We can provide that to any listeners that are in the Tennessee area that are interested in something like that.
Yeah, because there's people that come from Kentucky. I think there was a lady from Georgia, because some people live on that Chattanooga line right there at the edge, and so they've come up to the events.
Yeah, so they'll accept you from out of state, doesn't matter.
Correct.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I know we've had women previously, like on some of our events, that have worked through programs in Kentucky or New Hampshire. So every state has something, and they have a resource. It just might be named something different. So I'll make sure that when we post this podcast, that we have links to some of those resources, and we can even add them to the women who are on our private Facebook group to be able to find them, because I think it's really important that we band together and provide those opportunities to women that maybe you don't have time to dig for the resource, or maybe you have and you haven't been able to find it. If we can provide a hub for that, for any of those types of links for women to connect with other women in the outdoors and learn a new skill set, get their kids involved, so important.
Yes, I would love that. I think that's a great idea.
With your involvement in this, have your kids been able to get involved, or are they still a little bit standoffish, some of that kind of stuff in the outdoors?
They're still a little standoffish. They do have squirrel hunts available for the youth, and I've tried to ask the kids if they're interested in doing that, and they're like, yeah, no. So I'm waiting for that. Yes, I want to do that with you. Since I live in town, technically by law, I can use a bow and I can shoot a deer. So that's kind of my goal this year, is to shoot a deer in my yard. So the dog, she loves to bark at the deer and chase them. So we've been taking her out and on a leash. And my son the other day, he said, "Why are you taking the dog out on a leash?" I said, "So I can get my yard snacks." He's like, "Oh, well, I can take the dog." I said, "No, it's okay." We actually have a 6 or an 8-point buck that's right here in town. And, in town, they just get so overpopulated. And then they get hit by cars, and it's bad for the community.
Oh, absolutely. The detriment that whitetail can cause in an environment, especially a populated area. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons for management, right? Like, we have, aside from disease and everything like that can be carried and passed on, the detriment that they have to us as humans is immense when it comes to car accidents. So being able to be a contributor to something like that in your community, that, you take a good buck out, and that's going to help curb a little bit of that population in that area. And to me, like, I would much rather see a hunter harvest a deer than to see it hit on the side of a road. Everything, like, I know everything goes back to the environment, and animals will eat it, but then you're also pulling in other scavengers into the area to consume that carcass. And
yes, and we have chickens in town too. So we have all kinds of stuff here. We have had a fox, we've had a hawk, we've had owls, possums, skunks, what else? Raccoons. The raccoon, it really isn't too bad where we are at, but I know in some other areas they're worse here in town.
Oh gosh, our raccoons this year are awful, like absolutely awful. The farm that I work for, I do management, a trap line there, and that's like one of our biggest issues is the raccoons, because they destroy our corn crops.
Oh, that's
So
awful.
be thankful, because them getting into your trash cans, or like with us on the farm, getting into that farm and destroying acres of crop, it's just an awful detriment that they cause. But going back to the whitetail, I mean, I think that it's awesome that you're doing that. I think that as a mother, as a business owner, like you have to just be busy all the time. And the fact that you set time aside to have those goals and to go out and do those things is absolutely awesome. I love that you focus more on archery. I know that that's probably easier at the ready because you can do that like right out your back door. But
I'm
I think
terrible at
it's
it, but I love it.
I think it's a lost trait though. Like so many people like picked up a gun and decided like this is how I'm going to hunt, but there's just something very primitive and connecting with the outdoors.
Yeah.
You know, like you go back to Fred Bear and you look at some of his quotes, and in all reality that tool not being able to push you out at a distance, it's going to limit your activity. And while it's great to be able to shoot a deer at 100 yards, 200 yards, really honing them in at like that 40 yards or less, it just gives you a different connection with what you're harvesting. And I just, I always enjoy talking to archers because for me, that primitive style hunting is really what resides like deep in my heart. And like, there's times where yes, I pick up a gun and I go, and it obviously varies. Waterfowl, most people don't use a bow and arrow for waterfowl unless you're me and decide that you're going to start shooting geese with your bow. But for the most part, it's really neat to have somebody that sticks with it and like, this is what I do and this is what I enjoy doing. And I'm sure you're not terrible at it. I think that we're our own worst critics sometimes.
Well, I'd got it out earlier a couple weeks ago, and I'm shooting in the same area, but it's just low. So there's something that I'm doing wrong when I'm shooting it. It's just, I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So
Do
I'm
you
gonna
have an
have to go
archery
back to
shop?
I'm sorry?
Do you have an archery shop?
Not here in town. So I have to go back to the place that I had went to before, so that way they can help guide me and show me. They'll pick on me. Well, you haven't been in here, so
Well, I mean, if something got bumped on your bow or anything like that, to take it in and have them kind of look at it, make sure it's sighted in properly. If you're shooting in the same grouping in the same area and you're aiming at the target every time and you're shooting in that same grouping, it's probably how your bow's sighted in.
okay, probably.
But like for me, I'm so stubborn, and like I live, no joke, less than 5 minutes from my archery shop, and I'm in there all the time. So, bless Adams Archery here in Michigan, but I'm in there all the time. And if something happens and like something like that happens, I'll be like, okay, well, I'm shooting an inch low. I'm gonna, make up the difference by aiming here. And then I get in this like mindset, but then I'm like, I should probably have this fixed correctly instead of just rolling with the punches.
Yeah, but sometimes I get that though, because you want to be able to fix it yourself.
Oh, absolutely. And I think sometimes for me, I get really hard headed with myself that like, if this were to happen to me and I'm out in the mountains bow hunting, like I need to know how to fix it. So I am very much the person of like, I need to figure this out.
Yep, I 1000% understand.
Well, Nina, we are going to take a short break and hear from our sponsors, but we will be back shortly after we listen to our sponsors for the 2024 year. And we're going to dig into some of the events and things that we've been up to and the past event that Nina's been on with us. So stay tuned and take a quick listen from our sponsors.
Share your love of the outdoors with your little ones through the exciting adventures in Dr. Josh Farr's children's books. As an avid sportsman, Dr. Josh Farr has taken his passion for the outdoors and uses his vivid storytelling to teach valuable lessons and appreciation of the world. Learn the alphabet through the ABCs of hunting. Find joy in exploring the outdoors with Let's Go Out and Play and more. You and your child will love learning about nature with Dr. Josh Farr. See all of his books now at drjoshfarr.com. That's drjoshfarr.com.
Weeby Knives, a brand of skinning, fleshing, and butchering knives perfect for the hunters, trappers, and fishermen, with a unique high-quality knife for animals of all shapes and sizes. You can find them and more information at weebyknives.com or on Facebook, Instagram. Stonehouse Digital Consulting. Elevate your small business with Stonehouse's expert marketing solutions. Ignite your online presence and thrive with a tailored strategy to drive your growth. You can find them and more information at stonehousedigitalconsulting.com or on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Livingston County Pheasants Forever, Chapter 465. with a mission to conserve pheasant, quail, and other wildlife through habitat improvements, public access, education, and conservation. You can contribute by joining the meetings on the first Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. at the Howell American Legion Hall on the corner of M59 and Grand River. For more information and to get involved, you can find them at pf465.com or on Facebook, Instagram. Dreamcatcher Charters, a Michigan-based guide service for walleye, sturgeon, and duck hunting, with a passion that drives their success, sharing the phenomenal Michigan waterways with everyone. You can find them on Facebook, Instagram. Feather Moon Outdoors, offering calls made from select materials. Every pot is fine-tuned in the house using the highest quality materials available. Also offering diaphragm, slate, glass, grunt calls, and more. For more information, you can find them at feathermoonoutdoors.com or on Facebook, Instagram. Stay tuned, more podcasts to come. Welcome back. We are here with Nina Cox, and we have spoken to her and dug into her as a mother, as a business owner of Split Bean, and getting into her in the outdoors. So, Nina, I'm really excited to bring this memory up because it's one of my favorite Women of the Wild events that we were able to do. But back in February, we took a group of female veterans down to Arkansas, and you weren't originally on the trip. I think we had a girl cancel out, and you like last minute picked up a spot. And I remember getting the message from you that you were like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I want to go.
Yes.
So I would love to hear how all of that went from you, like start to finish of that experience, how you found it and what you thought about it, and just the experience and immerse yourself in that memory.
So in January, there was a women's trappers event. And so I had been connected through, I can't remember her name that does the trapping.
Linda White?
No, the other lady.
Megan?
Yeah, I think it was Megan.
Megan Lockwood?
And I think one of them had posted it. I was like, I'm a veteran. I've never been duck hunting. I want to try this out. Like, I like doing the clay shooting stuff. And this is kind of similar. Like, why not try it out? This would be so much fun. And it was free to be able to go, minus purchasing the duck sticker, because it was also the weekend for veterans to hunt in Arkansas. And they do a free hunt for all veterans in Arkansas.
Yeah. So we teamed up with Valor and Honor, RM Custom Calls, DLW Outfitters, and Women of the Wild hosted a fantastic event for 3 female veterans. We also had a youth there, which was my son. And it was Youth Veterans Weekend. So the only thing you guys were responsible for was your travel and your federal duck stamp, and everything else was meals, lodging, the hunt, everything was included.
Yes, and your son let me borrow his boots.
Yes. And we hunted flooded rice fields. And what was that experience like for you?
So we did that crawfish boil the night before, and I had never had crawfish boil. So that was an experience in of itself. And then getting to hear the stories from the other ladies, that was awesome. The RM Duck Calls, remember he had given us it was the red colored duck call to represent all the brothers and sisters that we've lost. And that was super special. But then in the morning we got up and you'd shown me how to stand up real quick and get back down, and then driving out there and riding in the little 4-wheeler or side by side, and getting to break up the ice and riding out there and seeing the ice kind of float out there. It was so pretty. And then we get into the duck blind, because it was the one that you climb down into. And then we closed the little top part. I don't know what that is called. And then we just kind of waited, and we got to watch the sunrise. And it was pretty. It was beautiful. And then the birds started coming in, and the DN or RM Duck Calls, he did a little display of showing how to do the duck calls. He's so talented. It was really neat.
Yes, Stump is fantastic. And I know he the night that the Louisiana boys, because while running that event at a different lodge, they were hosting the male veterans too in different fields, but we all came together and had like a community that crawfish boil. The boys from Louisiana brought back up all those crawfish, and I know that night we had gave gifts of hats, merchandise, calendars, cookbooks, that kind of stuff. But that, to circle back to that RM custom call, that Valor and Honor, it was a 410 single read, and it, for our listeners, I know this is going to be hard to envision, but it actually is a resemblance of dried blood in acrylic, with a black band. And like you said, it was to represent our brothers and sisters of the fallen soldiers. And that black band represents all the soldiers that we had lost. And it was very heartfelt. I'm not a veteran at all, but sorry, I'm getting choked up just talking about it. I'm not a veteran myself, but one of our big passions is supporting our veterans because they give up so much. I come from a long line of military, and I firsthand watched how it affects a family as a whole. And seeing those calls, and they're custom calls, there was only, I think, 50 ran, and they are donated strictly to veterans and organization owners contributing into getting veterans in the outdoors. So they're a very special call. And I know that Stump that evening had sat down and worked with you girls on learning how to duck call. And him and I kind of went back and forth with you ladies, teaching you like the basics and fundamentals of a duck call. Have you broke that out at all?
I have a couple times, and then I feel super goofy because I'm unsure of what I'm doing, but it's fun.
So I know that this is kind of like an early release to that, but we're actually going to have Stump on a podcast, and we're going to be doing an intro to duck calling, and we're going to be talking about basically the fundamentals of learning how to duck call and helping more women learn how to breathe into a duck call. So I'm really excited for that one to come up. But it was really neat for me to sit and watch all of you learning. And I know that like that first moment of like learning, it's really hard because you don't want to feel stupid, and you feel like you look stupid. You feel like you sound stupid, but it's one of those things that like you just stay repetitive with it. And then finally, when you get it, you're like, oh my God, that made the right sound. I'm going to keep doing it. And then it's just a repetitive thing that you learn, that muscle memory of putting that call in your mouth. And once you start breathing into it correctly and you finally hit that note, you like can't put it down.
Yeah. That's super exciting. I can't wait for that podcast.
Yes, I'm very excited for that one. But then, so we have our crawfish boil and we go out in the morning. And like you said, we were in the flooded rice fields in the pit lines. And I personally had not experienced Arkansas in that way before, hunting those flooded rice fields. But those sunrises and sunsets were absolutely stunning.
Yes.
Like, and there was birds, like we were there. Unfortunately, we had like a really bad like weather condition. So we got hit with a really bad ice storm. Like the 2 days that we were there for hunting, we got hit with this really bad storm, and everything was like froze. But we kind of turned that around and we saw a ton of birds, and you actually got your first goose. So tell me all about that, because that was an exciting moment for me. So I want to hear that from your perspective.
It was neat because I think that was one of the first birds that had flown over the first set. And so then it was just like, we're all getting ready, and Stump was just, be ready. And so we're like, okay. And then on your right. So we're standing there, we're waiting. And then we flip the blind up, and then we're all targeted on, and then we're all shooting. Pew, 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 pew. And then you just see the goose goes flying down, but they were really close. And so that was super exciting. And then watching the dog go and get it, that was a neat experience too.
That was really cool having the dogs with us, and Sharp, and we had Sharp, we had Dustin from DLW Outfitters, and we had Stump in the blind with us from RM Calls. So the boys were calling that morning, and watching the dogs work, especially on the ice, is just kind of neat. Mm-hmm. But that first goose for you, what was that like? Was that like your eye-opening moment that like I'm addicted to waterfowl, or did it hit you later?
I think it was probably a little bit later, because then when we just all kept shooting, and then it was like, now we've got the specks, or not the specks, but now we've got the pintails. And so then we're watching some of the other birds fly around, and they're naming off all these different kinds of ducks. So we had the specks, and we had the giggle chickens, and and then you had the snow geese. And so it's just, there's so much information for duck hunting and for goose hunting. Like there's just what mind blowing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and all of you ladies ended up getting your pintail. So you ended up with a goose, you ended up with a pintail, and for for our listeners, Arkansas is probably one of the better states to hunt a late season pintail. So they like these birds were absolutely beautiful. All of you ladies were just amazing. Had such a fantastic time. The camaraderie that we had in the blind from anything, and you guys were awesome with my son. Even, Dustin with DLW, at one point in time, Jameson's feet got really, really cold and he took his boots off and he's like rubbing them in the blind and like heating them up. And
Mhm.
I will never forget, like to this day, my son still talks about Dustin's honey milk. That like when he was cold and he took him back to the lodge and he heated up the milk with the honey in it for him.
Oh
Like
yeah.
to this day, Jameson is like, can we go back and see Dustin? Like
Oh.
it's just so sweet and endearing how much something like that meant to everyone. I know that it was just
Well, it's like there's a teamwork aspect to it. And so that's one thing, like with being a veteran, there's a community within that, and everybody is there to kind of work together. And so with this, it's not every man out for himself like it is with other kinds of hunting. This is group hunting. You guys are all out there and you're all working together. You're all trying to get the bird. And then when somebody does get the bird, everybody's cheering each other on, like, yes, we did it. And so that part was really, really neat. And so I ended up going on a snow goose hunt
Mhm.
about a month later, I think it was, because it was just so much fun and I wanted to do it again. And I wanted to push myself outside of my comfort zone to try something else. I said, well, I got that one goose and then I ate the goose and I liked it. So why not go again?
Yeah, so I actually remember getting the message from you. It was 2 weeks after our event, and I was actually with Stump at the NWTF show, and I remember him and I were at he was judging the calling contest at the NWTF, and we were there talking, and he was like, "All right, girl, I gotta go." He was getting ready to go judge something, and I took 2 steps away from him and my phone dinged, and I saw that it was you, and I opened it, and it was that photo, and I full sprinted back to him to show him, and we both were like people probably thought we were nuts, but we were screaming with excitement. We were so excited to see that photo of that next goose hunt that you had went on, that you came and experienced something for the first time, and you completely immersed yourself in the experience, from learning how to shoot to you and I in the kitchen teaching you how to clean your bird. And then to get just 2 weeks later that photo that you were out there and you guys laid down a ton of snow geese, like it was really awesome.
It was I think 60, it was 60 plus birds that we had all got together.
How was that experience?
That was cool because I was the only female there. And again, this one is ran by another Marine Corps veteran, and they were all respectful, very professional. I'll have to get you, I think it's level 7 outdoors, and they also do similar hunts to what you do. But they're all over the place. They're in Texas, and they just did some hunts with the ribeyes of the sky.
Yes, sandhill cranes.
Yes. So they do a lot of stuff like that too. And in January, I'm going on a duck hunt. It's a women's duck hunt here in Tennessee.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Who is
so
that through?
some ladies got together and with there's an outdoor women's group on Facebook,
Mhm.
and some ladies said, hey, is there any interest in doing a women's duck hunt? And I'm like, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And so the lady that's in charge of, I think it's Nashville, Outdoor Women of Nashville,
Yes.
she's in that group, and she's going the week before I am. So they ended up having 2 weeks worth. And so this hotel is supplying the rooms for us. And the lady, when I called to book my room, she said she was super excited and can't wait to have all of us women out there, and that this is a great opportunity for everybody. And there's a gentleman that's kind of helping to support all the women out there with that. I forget the name of that. I'll get that to you.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's the kind of stuff that we want to share with our listeners. And our followers on the private group, we want to be able to create a link for these women to find hubs for things in their area, different states. So we'd love to share that information out when this podcast airs. We'll make sure that those links are provided. And like, there's so many women in your area that want to get in the outdoors. There's probably already groups for it, but any group that's out there that is vetting outfitters, that's a big thing that we pride ourselves in here at Women of the Wild, is making sure that you're going with a reliable, good outfitter who, it's not always about, for us with Women of the Wild, it's not exactly about like putting a big pile of birds on the ground. We vet our outfitters based on a couple of different factors.
Experience.
We look for something that's safe.
Yes.
We never want to bring a girl into the outdoors with someone that is going to be unsafe. So that is our main focus. We want to make sure that the lodging is up to par. I know when we went to Arkansas, it was funny because it was out of the realm of what you would have thought the lodging to be, but it was actually spectacular lodging. But like when you first get there and like the front of the building,
It was a
you're
little
like,
sketchy looking.
what am I walking into? And then you walk in and it was all unfinished at the time because they were working on it.
It
So
was
you first,
gorgeous upstairs.
yeah, so all of our accommodations were beautiful and it was fantastic. But like, know that we vet that kind of thing and make sure that the groups you're going with are looking into things like that. But then our big thing is support. So looking into groups who are going to full on support you, that this is not a competition, we're in this together, and they're going to provide that camaraderie, whether it's a bear hunt or a whitetail hunt or a duck hunt. They're going to offer camaraderie in different aspects. Like obviously if you're out bear hunting or whitetail hunting, it's probably more of a solo hunt, but make sure that you're getting that camaraderie when you go back for the evenings for your meals, in the evenings to sit around and band that sisterhood. The waterfowl industry is one of my favorites because we have that ability to offer that camaraderie, and we can talk and we can play and we can joke around and be silly and have fun. And to me, it gives you a better connection with the people you're there with.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing, like to circle back to the TWRA with their deer hunts that they do. If you need a guide, they provide a guide for you. So you have a female with a female and you're in that blind and they help guide you. So when I was in that blind, Amy was supposed to go with me and then she ended up not because of injury to her knee. And so then I was freaking out because I'm doing something completely new, different. I don't know anybody there. And I was like, I can do this. I can do this as I'm driving there. And I had found out. And so I met this lady. Her name was Diane. And she has recently retired. And she was in the blind with me and she just kept talking. I was like, are we supposed to be quiet? And she kept talking and she's super sweet. And then all of a sudden she's like, there's a deer to your left. There's a deer. And I said, and if you know me, I'm very, very calm and laid back and chill. And I was like, there's one in front of me. And she's just, wait, she's like, wait for the second one. So she was looking at both of them to see which one was a little bit bigger. And then she was way more excited than I was because I didn't want to get my hopes up. I was like, yeah, I shot it. I don't know if I got it or not. So I had to wait 4 hours because they want everybody to stay safe and they're blind. And so they don't want people driving to go help you look for a deer if it's going to be messing with someone else's hunt. And
For
so
sure.
I ended up getting it, but it was just so funny because she's like, you were just so quiet and chill. Like she's over there, like the adrenaline rush. She had all of it. And I'm just like, okay. Once I got the deer though, that's when I was like, okay, now I have the adrenaline and now I'm like, this is real. I actually got it. That's kind of like with the duck hunt. You go and you shoot it and you have that adrenaline rush right then and there. And that's kind of how it is with the bow hunting because you're going and you're aiming at that deer and you're so close to it and you have it staring at you and you're like, okay, I got this. I got this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it
big calm.
definitely, it's an adrenaline rush, like an adrenaline dump for sure. But it's funny because a lot of times when we do these events, I feel like our PRs or myself are more excited than some of the girls. And it's exactly that. Like, I think that as women, we have that reserve of like, I'm not excited until I put my hands on it. Like, it doesn't feel real. Let me experience this. And then, but like for us, when we're stepped back and we're not shooting and we see stuff like that happen, and you see the hit, you see the connect, you see it go down, whatever it may be. Like, gosh, we had our aoudad hunt, and when Hannah shot her ram, the excitement that like blew up between the group of like just screaming. She's like, "Did I get it?" And it's just so sweet to see like the women, how their reactions when they get like their first harvest on something, or even just an experience. Like, it doesn't have to be their first, but I feel like as women, we open that up to like almost every harvest we take is a new experience, and we treat it differently every single time. And we're just so thankful for it.
Yes.
And now to the final segment to this week's episode of Women of the Wild podcast. We will conclude this segment by thanking our closing sponsors. Stay tuned for more of this week's episode after this short word from our sponsors. Muzzy Pheasant Farms, a mid-Michigan family-owned and operated pheasant game preserve that is open year-round. Muzzy offers educational courses and hunts. They are family-oriented, creating a great opportunity for new and seasoned upland hunters. With no membership required, come hunt with Muzzy Pheasant Farms. You can find more information at muzzypheasantfarms.com or check them out on Facebook and Instagram. Blast and Cast Guide Service is a veteran-owned and operated Michigan-based guide service for the Great Lakes. With decades of experience of fishing and waterfowl, they ensure a safe and enjoyable trip every time. You can check them out at blastandcastguideservice.com or on Facebook and Instagram. Ultimate Veteran Adventures. UVA offers outdoor therapy, recreation, and camaraderie through hunting and fishing adventures around the country for veterans, active duty military, Gold Star families, and first responders. You can find them at Ultimate Veteran Adventures. You can find them at ultimateveteranadventures.com or on Facebook and Instagram. Sawmill Creek Bait and Lures, a husband and wife owned and operated company, the home of the C4, one of the best trapping canine lures on the market. You can find them at sawmillcreekbaitandlures.com or on Facebook and Instagram. Wicked 7 Outdoors, a Southwest Texas outfitter guide service with an exceptional care and quality of backcountry mountain hunts for free-range aoudad. Also offering high fence and low fence exotics, come immerse yourself in the outdoor experience. You can find Wicked 7 Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. Misguided Outdoors is a female-driven Michigan-based guide service offering turkey and waterfowl hunts. Misguided is focused on educating women and youth, providing a hands-on hunt experience for all ages. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram. We thank you for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Now that you have experienced waterfowl and you did hunts last year, you're going to dive into some this year. Is it something that it has like fallen into a passion for you to go out and experience more and more? Is it something you plan on doing on your own?
I definitely want to experience it a lot more, but most of the hunts that I find are just a little too expensive or they're out of state. So then it's not only am I paying for the hunt itself, I'm having to pay for the extra lodge. Well, sometimes the lodging's included, but sometimes the extra lodging. And then it's the hunting license in the different state. So then it's like, oh, now we're adding more and more and more. And it's just like, I just want to go. It's so much fun.
Yes. Yeah. And stay tuned for us, because I know we have some more female veteran events coming up. And then we also post some for other veteran organizations. So I'd love to connect with that. Was it Level 7 Outdoors?
Yes.
Connect with them. Anything that's in it, like, we focus on women as a whole. We have that motto of, you take a man hunting, you've taken a man hunting, you take a woman hunting, and you've taken her whole family.
Yeah.
We really have been pushing more this year to do more involving the family. So we have hunts coming up and other events, not just hunts, but events coming up that are more family based. So getting kids in the outdoors, bringing your spouse. One thing we've really found encompassing with Women of the Wild is we started to get a lot of women in the outdoors for their first experience. They hunt with us for an entire season. They come on multiple events. And now all of a sudden they're wanting to take their spouse who is not a hunter and get him into hunting. And it's like, nope, I know we're called Women of the Wild, but we are really here to encompass an outdoorsman as a whole. Our main focus is women, also do a lot for youth, and we love supporting our female veterans. So I know we have some more veteran hunts coming, but we also have youth. When we're able to team up and do grants, we do them. But we always, our female veteran hunts are free of charge meals and lodging are included to the female veterans. The only thing we can't cover is licensing and travel, and that's just due to liability. But anytime that we can do it, especially like planning it around like the Veterans Weekend, we try to do things like that because it does curb the cost of licensing, especially out of state. It can get pricey depending on what you're hunting. But for you guys, it was just I think the duck stamps were $25.
Maybe, or maybe it was 45. I really don't remember.
Yeah, we try to keep the cost minimal with things like that. Or like, if we did a walleye event this year where you could just do like a 1-day fishing license. You didn't have to buy like the whole weekend or an annual or anything like that. We try to keep the cost as low as possible while we're including everything else and sponsoring those spots for our female veterans. It's an honor for us to serve those who have served us. And like, I am so glad that we connected through that event. It's kind of funny how that panned out because it was such last minute. I think you signed up. Was it the weekend before?
I think so. It was
Like-
super. I was calling the Arkansas Wildlife Agency, be like, okay, I have purchased my duck stamp. Is there anything else that I need for this weekend? And they're like, are you a veteran? And I said, yes. She said, nope, you're good to go. I said, all right.
Yeah, you signed up like super last minute, and we had 2 other female veterans who were absolutely fantastic. It was Danielle and Holly out with us, and we had an absolute blast just getting to know each other and hanging out and shooting ducks and geese. And I hope to get all of you on an event again because it was such a nice experience to have that with all of you, but also to honor each of you individually. We appreciate everything that our veterans do for us and our female veterans, especially because I feel like there's a lot more to it for a female to be involved in the military than most people want to talk about or even see. And it's great to be able to support you guys. And we thank you for your service and everything that you do. As a service member, as a mother, as a business owner, as a woman in the outdoors, you're out there making a difference, even just by sharing your story and inspiring someone else.
Well, and you make a huge difference in a lot of people's lives with what you do and your passion for the outdoors and getting everybody that you can out there. You really push for people to get out.
No, I
And
appreciate that.
Appreciative, right?
Yeah. So we're coming up to the end of the podcast, and I would love if you have any tips, tricks, or any information, educational, or even just an inspirational quote or anything that you'd like to share with the listeners of giving someone that inspiration to get in the outdoors.
Just get out there. Just get out there. I'll send out in some of the information for the TWRA, the Becoming an Outdoor Women, the Nashville Women, or the Outdoor Women of Nashville, and Level 7. I'll get you some information on them. And that's about it. I mean, all of those programs are great. They're super friendly. You ever have any questions, you just reach out. And even if it's just you feel like it's a silly question, it doesn't matter. They'll still answer it and they'll still treat you with respect.
Absolutely. It's very important for women to hear that. Like, it's okay. Like, we never encourage a woman to just like meet someone on social media and just go. But especially with these organizations, if you find a trusted organization, like here with Women of the Wild, we really have your backs. And to get out with an organization like that, know that they're vetted. When you go out with these other women's companies, there's organizations all over the United States. If you can't find one, connect with us. We will try our best to get you connected with someone in your area, or even trusted females. It may not be a business, but we might have connections in other states to get you connected with a trusted female in that area that might have those resources. But I agree with you. You just got to do it. If you're questioning it, stop questioning it and just do it, because you're potentially holding yourself back from a passion that you don't even know you have yet.
Yes, exactly. And then if you find out you don't like it, that's okay. Try something else that's new.
Yes,
You don't
and
know until you try it.
That's the great thing about all these companies and organizations that are doing this, is they're not typically, that one streamline event. Like, you get involved with them and it's going to open a floodgate. I call it Pandora's box
Yes.
but of different events that are available, like you said, with the organization there with you, to be able to do archery, to do foraging, to do firearm, the clay shooting and all of that. Like it's all encompassing. And it's kind of a trust the process thing that sometimes it's just going out, finding your bearings and getting comfortable. I know that we host a lot of pheasant events. That's kind of our staple here in Michigan. We are a Michigan-based company, even though we travel all over the United States, but that's kind of our staple is starting a hunter out with pheasant hunting. We go over classroom education, we go over firearm safety, we get you out there, we get you shooting clays, and then we graduate into the field and we use pheasants because they fly a little bit slower. It's a little bit slower of a pace, but it's an active and engaging hunt. Watching the dogs, it rewards you with learning how to hunt with other hunters, hunting over dogs, having a guide. It's a fresh experience that kind of gives you a little bit of everything for you to grow from.
I think that's great because I think starting out with the clays, it gives you a sense of accomplishment when you shoot that clay and you actually get it. And I actually did that. I got the clay, which means you can get that bird too.
Yes, yes, 100%. And a lot of it is practice. So that's the other thing too, is if it's something new to you, don't get discouraged. Sometimes you might have to do it a couple of times before you reap a reward of a harvest, but it's sticking at something. If you enjoyed it and you had fun doing it, try it again. You may not have been successful the first time, and that doesn't mean you're bad at it. It doesn't mean, you know, it just means that you need to work towards it and getting out and shooting clays. I know we've done like the shotgun clinics and things like that. We team up with Muzzy Pheasant Farm, and it's really important for us that we're providing a full circle experience in the outdoors. That way these women are building their confidence and growing as outdoors women. And I think, like you said, just get out there and do it. It's honestly the best piece of advice that you can give to anyone is just don't do it uneducated, but get out there and try it and do it with one of these resources. Doesn't matter if it's us, if it's another women's company, if it's not even a women's company at all, and it's one of these veteran organizations or, your local DNR. If there's an experience out there, just try it.
And sometimes you might get met with some lashback from, because I had that. I went somewhere to try and sign up a clay shooting area that's out here. And they just wanted to talk to me about using the cistern, like I was going to use up all their water. And so I chose not to use their facilities. So there's a place in Nashville. It's a little bit further drive, but they're more respectful. And so sometimes you just get met with that, and that's okay. You just say, you know what, that's not the group for me. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, and that's all part of that vetting process is to make sure that you're getting people who are supportive. I know women, one of the big things that we hear from women is like they walked into a gun club and the first thing they kind of get looked down as being a woman there, and they're like, "Oh, are you here with your husband?" And it's like, "Nope, I'm here by myself." And sometimes you get a little bit of that ridicule, but I think having that thick skin and resistance against it, you can find your niche, and it may not be with the first place that you step into, but it's out there.
Yep.
So, Nina, I would love for you to drop where people can connect, where they can find your split bean company, and if anyone wants to connect with you or any of those handles for the veteran organizations or even these outdoor companies, if you have any of those social media or websites or anything like that that you want to share, we'd love for you to share that out with our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send that in to you.
Okay. So make sure that you check out the description for the podcast. We'll have all those links provided. But Nina's company is Split Bean Company, Coffee Company.
Split bean roasting company.
I'm really
like you're splitting the bean because it's got that split in the center.
yes. I'm really excited. I'm gonna have to. You guys do order? Can people order online from you?
Yes. So we have our website. You can order the coffee. You can have it whole bean, ground, and then we actually got a K-cup maker, and I make all of the K-cups by hand. Grind it up, measure it out. We've got a fancy little measurer, and then seal the top, put it in the box.
I love that. So support a great outdoors woman, one of our amazing female veterans, and her small company. Check them out. We'll definitely share that link and some photos when the podcast posts. But Nina, it's been absolutely fantastic connecting with you. I hope to see you on another event, and I definitely will reach out the next time we have another female event for our
Thank you
veterans.
for inviting me to do this. This has been great.
Absolutely. So we want to thank you for listening to another episode of Women of the Wild podcast. We are so grateful and blessed for our sponsors for our 2024 season. make sure that you go onto our website and check it out, because we do have calendars, we have cookbooks, we have merchandise that's coming back. We also have a lot of really great events coming up this January. We're going to be hosting a slew of the pheasant events that we just discussed. We have a sandhill crane hunt, and we have going back to Africa in May, a lot of other events, fishing events. We'll get back on walleye, and we're not limited just to Michigan. We have events all over the United States. For our Michigan listeners, we do have, or even local bordering states, we do have a lot of local events that are going to be happening that are going to be educational courses. We're bringing back the online courses and in-person courses. So the trapping event that we had discussed earlier, things like that. And we're really excited to get more women involved in the outdoors and providing that education. Also, be sure to tune in on the third Wednesday of every month. We now have a Women of the Wild trivia that we are hosting to help provide education and spread that camaraderie throughout the women community through podcast. So tune in for that. Thank you for listening.